This is the Bitcoin Otter Radio Show.
Oh my God, I love you so much!
On 97.7 FM, The City.
Greetings, blessings, and good fortune, everybody. It is another Thursday, a wild Thursday in a crazy, tumultuous time. God bless the USA, and thank God we live in this time. What a great time to be alive, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming at you live from the Creative Incubator here in McAllen, Texas, on 97.7 KCYP, The City, in same city, McAllen, Texas, ladies and gentlemen, the Rio Grande Valley itself. Yes. Also, we're going out on YouTube. We're going out on Facebook. We're going out on TuneIn Radio, and also, what's that other one, Joe? Radio Garden. Yeah, that's the one actually I've pretty much tried out more than the other one. Love it. It's the radio all around the world for those of us that love radio. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a great show for you tonight. One that will allow you to basically let me know what your opinion is. What the hell is going on? I have an idea. You may like it, you may not like it, but I have an idea. I have an idea of exactly what's going on. Not exactly. I overstate. I exaggerate. There are people who have told me millions of times not to exaggerate, so I'm going to try and not exaggerate. However, what I do have to say is this. Things are wild. Things are crazy. Bitcoin is at 84,000 a Bitcoin. Yeah, it's down, but hey, listen to me, please. I am not a financial advisor. Look at this Buffalo Sabres jersey. Do financial advisors wear these jerseys? No, they don't. However, I do. Why? Because I'm not a financial advisor. But this is what I want to tell you. This is what I would love everyone to understand. When you have something so solid as Bitcoin, people, rich people, unlike me, but rich people see these things as opportunities, not to get rid of it because you're going to lose, right? Well, actually, if you got into it a little while ago, you would definitely not lose. Anyway, what you can do is you double down. You know, I might do that. We'll see. Whatever happens, okay? But I still have confidence, for whatever that means, in Bitcoin. And I'm telling you, one of these days, I sincerely believe we will have a great golden age, which involves crypto to a degree that none of us can imagine. So, bank it. You be the banker, though. I do have something to tell you. Not only has gold eclipsed the 5,000 mark, it's at $5,460 per ounce as we speak. But whatever. That's gold. Not many people are going to drop, that I know, are going to drop $5,460. Well, more, right? Probably $5,500 for an ounce of gold, right? But I'll tell you what. I'll tell you something. Silver's better. Silver is a better buy. And you know what it's going for? Ladies and gentlemen, I've been doing this show probably 3 years now. Me and Joe have gotten together for about 3 years here in the studio, passing on these prices, passing on not the value so much because these metals are very much more valuable than their prices. However, the fake money, the Federal Reserve note price on silver today, as I speak, is $119.11. Ladies and gentlemen, had we bought silver in January, we would have paid somewhere around $28 to $30 an ounce for a piece of silver. Today, it's nearly $120 an ounce, ladies and gentlemen. That is amazing. That is a great return on your investment for many reasons. Why? First of all, you're giving fake money for real money. That's the first thing, okay? The Federal Reserve notes suck. They are not going to be around much longer. Or if they are, they're going to be in a much different state of being, meaning they're going to fail because they are debt-based notes. The Treasury notes, Lord willing, will come soon, okay, will have backing. Hopefully, gold, maybe some silver, Bitcoin, who knows what else. There's a lot of different things. There might even be a basket of assets, valuable assets, resources, true resources with value, unlike the Federal Reserve note. because the Federal Reserve note sucks. The Federal Reserve sucks. Literally, they suck the life out of you. People like you and me, what are we? We are wage slaves. We trade our time for money. What is time? Life. Then what is money? Congealed life. If you call the Federal Reserve note money, you have to realize that it has lost approximately 98% of its value since the ugly, disgusting Federal Reserve was enacted in 1913 under cover of darkness on Christmas Eve. It was crazy. It was criminal, but it is the Federal Reserve. Now, what I would like to tell you, what I would like to say is this. What we have going on today in our nation sounds tumultuous. It looks crazy. But ladies and gentlemen, it is an opportunity. The reason why people like me don't get places in life financially, okay, we get many places, and in the right time, the right place, okay, which is spiritually, which is with our God and his son, Jesus Christ. Let me say that, and let me allow you to agree or not to agree. It is your decision. Now, Barry, good to see you, Barry. Let's see what else. Who else we got here? Haven't seen anybody on the Christopher Ott one. We'll go into the Bitcoin Otter one. But where I'm going with this, ladies and gentlemen, is that where some people who are not fiscally, financially minded, okay, and I'm going to go to the great analogy presented to us by Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We think differently. The average working person thinks differently than the average wealthy person. What do I mean by wealthy? What I mean by wealthy is someone who has accumulated sufficient wealth in his lifetime that he can pass it on to the next generation. When that generation receives that wealth, it's called generational wealth, right? Now, that's a wealthy person. They don't go to work. Their money works for them. Their assets work for them, okay? We don't do that. Why? Largely because of ignorance. We have not been taught the wealthy person's formulas on how to get wealthy, obtain, and retain wealth so that it will pay you back in the future. Now, with the advent of television, and especially, well, not television, that's a rot, right? But with the advent of the internet, we can get information. I'm not saying that all information, okay, is legitimate, but what I am saying is we can get information. So here we go. We got Matt. Matt, you're watching on, I believe, the Bitcoin Otter one. That's great. Awesome. Good to see you today. So there's some things I want to talk about. I'm going without notes today, okay? Not that I'm not prepared, because I did prepare, but what I'm saying is the things that we have to talk about don't necessarily have a script. The biggest item I want to talk about today, okay, is the elephant in the room as far as we Americans, we here in America, and it does affect tangentially other nations, especially our neighbors, Canada, Mexico, Central and South America, okay, and our zone, okay, that we reside in. So what I want to talk about today is a form of insurrection. Now, anyone who has a brain to think, you didn't go to some university, you didn't go to some institution that has taught you not how to think, but what to think, okay? And they give these indoctrination awards, they call them degrees, and you hang them on your wall, and it proves that you think exactly like them, and you think sufficiently like them that they gave you that award. I'm not talking about that. I'm not trying to devalue your education, especially if you are a STEM student. You're into sciences, right? Well, sciences without the dollar sign at first instead of the S. You're into engineering, you're into manufacturing, you're into all that great stuff, okay? There's no room for stupidity there because lives are at stake, okay? If you're into that stuff, hey man, you really did graduate with something valuable. If you're in the lifestyle kind of degree, You're in that thing that says, hey, it's 21st century. We're going to completely throw all the rules out the window and start with stupidity. Well, then maybe you can rethink that degree and perhaps learn how to think with those of us that have broken free from that type of agenda. You be you, I'll be me. So the fact of the matter is what we're witnessing right now is Joe Biden sucks too. You are right, Matt. You are exactly right. And I definitely wouldn't want to have this show go on without mentioning that. Thank you very much for that addition. So what I'm seeing now, okay, and you please pipe up with what you're seeing. What we are seeing right now is this. We are seeing live in your face what is called a color revolution. Wait a minute, Otter. That happens overseas. That happens when there's protests on a massive level, and that happens then. Yes, it does. However, remember, if any of you are veterans, if any of you have served perhaps in federal government or federal law enforcement, and I know there's some of you out there as I speak, do you remember the oath that was taken? I think you do. Do you remember the part about enemies of the United States of America? I certainly do. It states that we will defend our homeland. We will defend the United States of America. Against whom? Against what? Enemies, of course. That's what we were called to do as military members, law enforcement, whatever. Excuse me. This is our job. This is our wheelhouse, if you will. So, if you take this or have taken this oath of service, the fact where you put your hand up and you swear has in its basic tenets, and you must verbalize and repeat that you will defend the United States of America against enemies, foreign and domestic. What does that mean? That means that our country is as vulnerable, perhaps more so, than any other country in this world to domestic enemies. And boy, do we have them in spades. Barry says, can anybody see this? Yes. Yeah, I gave you a shout out a little bit earlier, Barry, but man, I wouldn't doubt these Facebook fools are trying to cut us off and give us technical difficulties. We shall see. Now, another place I want to go with this is that there are signals. You might say, Otter, you know what, man? I might believe this, that, or the other, but I don't believe that we're literally in a color revolution. Well, what I would like to say, to counter that is the people who run these operations, these color revolutions, they're expert at it. This was their job. They consider it their duty. I would imagine some actually believe they serve the United States. I really do believe that some of them do believe it. Omar, good to see you, brother. Good to see you. We're talking about color revolutions, foreign and domestic. And right now we're going through one domestically. How do I know this? Because there are markers. What are these markers? Mass organization, not just a few people with homemade signs walking through the streets. We're talking about highly financed, highly tuned, planned, programmed agendas that seek to topple the current government of a nation. Now, we know that at its finest, the United States is ruled by we the people. Okay, that's the design of the founding fathers, that we the people of the United States of America, true citizens, are the rulers of the United States of America. We govern. However, we must do what we need to do among ourselves in our daily lives to feed our families. So we consent to be governed by representatives that we elect to do things like run the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch. Now, yes, the judicial branch, they are nominated. They are, not so much elected, but they are nominated by the elected officials that we elect. That is a perfect world. Do we live in such a place? We do not. We live in a corrupt, vile world, okay? The world, there was a verse, and I'm sorry, I don't have it. It's at the tip of my tongue. You can't see the other comments, says Omar. Man, I think you're on the Otter Christopher Ott. one. Maybe if you went to the Bitcoin Otter one, can everybody see Matt? You're up on the Bitcoin Otter one. Can you see the other chat? The other silver at 119.07 says Matt. Yes. So I don't know if you can see these, Matt. The other comments, I'm not sure. So maybe that's going to help. I don't know. So we got somebody else popped up, and you guys are coming in and out also. So I don't know exactly how that works on Facebook. We really do need a better platform. We do need a platform that is not going to jank us around like this Facebook place does. Anyway, so here's the thing. Here's what's going on. Here is what's going on in this day and age. We have enemies, foreign and domestic, tearing at the fabric of our country. How do we know this? The level of organization that is put into this Minneapolis, this Minnesota operation is sky high. Now, if we had the ability to do it, I don't, but people do, and I'm sure they are. I just haven't tapped into it. How do you track the people that come into Minneapolis from other places, be they foreign or domestic? They come in by bus. They come in by plane. They come in by vehicle, I'm sure. Okay, we know this. How do we know this? From all the mess that happened in the 2020 Summer of Love. Those were not locals burning down car dealerships. Those were not locals, okay? They were definitely sex crimes. They were sex criminals that attacked Kyle Rittenhouse, that he took care of it. He took care of it. Yeah, he took care of it. You know, so they were crimes against children, right? And they went after a guy who knew how to. Okay, Matt can only see his comments. They knew how to take care of themselves. Rittenhouse did know how to take care of himself. So how about Bill Belichick not making the Hall of Fame, says Omar. Well, they don't like Bill. Remember Pete Rose in baseball? If those rich dudes don't like you, they're not going to vote you into the Hall of Fame. It's a club, and we ain't in it. So that's the way I feel about it. They don't like him because, well, he says things they don't like. So basically, screw them. But yeah, there is a problem with the NFL. So we're dealing with this thing now. Hopefully, you guys can get in and we can see each other's comments, and throw yours up because I can see your comments. However, going along that whole track of the color revolution, ladies and gentlemen, the corruption is erupting to the surface. It's always been there, right? But it's erupting to the surface. Now, here's what we have. The reason why, okay, there are these protests, and in this manner, they are protests. They are unlawful protests. Here's what I mean. Do we, as Americans, have the right to protest? Sure, but let's define that protest. Now, constitutionally speaking, we have the right to assembly, peaceful assembly. That doesn't mean throwing frozen water bottles at people. That doesn't mean shooting at people. That doesn't mean smashing car windows. That doesn't mean stopping traffic. That doesn't mean any of those things. Where is it that these types of protests come from? Thank you for asking. They come from organization. They come from endless funding. What do I mean by that? I mean NGOs. These NGOs, these organizations that have been around for probably at least a generation, okay? USAID, the Soros Foundation, the WHO, the all that stuff, the World Economic Forum, all these criminal organizations, okay? They exist to steal your money because we are the fat cats, right? Even though some of us are not so fat, we are still considered the host for the parasites because our nation is the federal, how would you say, the world currency, right? So they use the Federal Reserve, the criminal organization called the Federal Reserve. It's not federal. It has no reserves. It's fake. Anyway, they use that, the Federal Reserve note of this country, as the world reserve currency. That means that they can make as many as they want because it's not backed by anything, as many as they want in our name. Why? Because we work to have money stolen from us. They call it taxes. And as this theft occurs, they use it against us by stealing from us, funding these NGOs, and then taking these NGOs and operating them in a way that works against our nation. They fund these Trans-Tifa folks. They fund the Tren de Aragua gang. They fund BLM. They fund all of these gangsters so that they can come into our country and they can create chaos against our will. There are people who watch too much TV that will never understand this. They will never believe it. But hey, we are not they, right? So what we have today is a live color revolution. That's not going to work. It's not going to work, ladies and gentlemen. Why are they in Minnesota fighting and beating up, protesting against, throwing projectiles at federal law enforcement? Why are they there? You might say, oh, they're fighting against the deportation of illegal immigrants. Possibly, but that's not the main reason. The main reason is they were exposed. The main reason is fraud was exposed. Fraud on a monumental level. Billions. I want to say it's 30 or $40 billion worth of fraud they've discovered so far in Minnesota alone. Where is the disconnect? I'll tell you very plainly. In all other places, all other states, ICE is right now, for now, operating successfully. How is that? Why? They go to the jails of any given municipality, okay? And they go to these jails and they pick up criminals. They're called criminal aliens, criminal illegal aliens. They have records. They've done horrible things. They've set people on fire on trains. They've stabbed people. They've done all kinds of crazy stuff. Lots of DUI, lots of killings, lots of murder, lots of crime, theft, scams, all that, okay? These are criminal aliens. They get caught by local, state law enforcement. They go to jail, okay? What ICE does is they pick these refuse, these people that Joe Biden and the auto pen allowed in to the tune of 30 million in the last 4 years prior to this, okay? They let them in. They want them. They're voters to them. They're new citizens. They're replacements for you and me, for the communists, okay? This color revolution has to work on that level, okay? Now, these criminals are thrown in jail. ICE works hand in hand with these local and state law enforcement agencies so that they will go to the jails, pick up these criminals, and get them out. Maybe they'll go on federal charges, hopefully, placed in jail, take them off the streets. Then, as they come out of the federal system, they go out of the United States. Afuera! Como Javier Milei. Take out the trash, man. So what was it about Minnesota that set all this off? I'll tell you what it was. It was the fact that the fraud was exposed. The people involved, Tampon Tim Walz, okay, one of the weakest men you'll ever know. This Fry guy, F-R-E-Y, what a geek, okay, what a communist, what a soy boy, okay, him, their lieutenant governor. She is on what they call signal chats, meaning there is an app called Signal. It's supposed to be end-to-end encrypted. People can break into it like everything else in this world, and people have. And she, I can't remember her name, Galloway or something. I can't remember. If you guys remember, please throw it up. But the lieutenant governor of Minnesota was in these chats. Okay, these color revolutions from communists, funded by your tax dollars through NGOs. Okay, they are in constant communication with the installed leaders of states. Now, how do I mean installed? Because the election fraud is so great that they are not able to actually go through with legal, fair elections. Take New York, take California, Illinois, Maricopa County. That's going to pop soon. Anyway, all of these things come together to form what's called an insurrection against the United States of America. It is also called, and the formula for, a color revolution. Now, our nation's three-letter agencies, many of them have gone rogue, at least at the very top. You have your your basic, boots on the ground kind of people that really want to do good. They really believe in America. They really want to make the lives of Americans better by cleaning up the trash. There are many of them, more than the criminals. But the criminals, unfortunately, the crap rises through the top in a socialistic, Marxist, communistic, parasitic government, which is what we have right now. However, times they are changing because this trash is being taken out. So if anybody sees what I've missed, I don't know, perhaps they see something that I've missed in this assessment, because I'm going to move on to a little bit more of the deeper aspects of a color revolution. What does it mean? How does it work? Okay. The first phase of a color revolution is that the people who want to overturn the government in a country, usually a democratically elected government, okay, they will overturn it. Okay, these criminals, these agitants, these insurgents will overthrow a government, but they have to pass certain phases, certain states of stasis, of being, okay? So one of the first is they have to overthrow or at least have a market share, a majority share of the media. You have to have the eyes and ears of the nation, of the people. That was done long ago, ladies and gentlemen. Walter Cronkite was a communist. Oh, I know you boomers are not going to like that. But Walter stinking Cronkite, okay, was a communist. Barry, when is cash going to be thrown out? I don't know, but I do have a word, Barry, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I have an opinion, and I know I can back it up. Guys like Cash, Kristi Noem, Pam Bondi, Bongino, all of these people are placeholders. They're actors. What do I mean? Let me slow down a bit. They are people that are working in this time for this period. Why? Because we are really, this is my opinion, I'm not bringing anybody into my jackpot. We are working under what I believe to be a coup. Now, anyone who's worked for the military or the government knows what a coup is. It's a continuation of operations plan. Okay? A continuation of operations plan. Now, what do you mean? What do I mean? Let me explain. At some point, patriots in our government at various levels, but most likely high, most likely, almost for sure, pretty much for sure, the military, discovered what was going on behind the scenes, the corruption just below the surface and deeper down, and their plans to overthrow the United States of America and the world altogether. They're called globalists. We call them whatever you want to call them, the Illuminati, the deep state, the Khazarian mafia, whatever you want to call them. You call them what you want to, okay? But globalism is real. It only takes Davos. It only takes rich people that want to rule over you. And they come together in conspiracy. Evil rich people. So back to your subject on Kash Patel. A patriot. But again, what I believe he is a placeholder so that when we regain our footing, okay, and the powers that are currently keeping the deep state at bay, I believe them to be military powers that have recruited Donald Trump to serve as the great leader of this transformational time. We are not undergoing a revolution. We are resisting an insurrection, but we are not in need of a revolution. We are in need of a reformation. My opinion again. We only need to reform the corruption that exists today back to dial the clock back to the foundation that was laid by our founding fathers early on. Why? Because that foundation is solid. The most solid foundation of any nation in this world at this time. Why? Because it was built on Christian policy, Christian values, The great liberator of this universe is Jesus Christ himself. I'm not going to say we're a Christian nation because we don't make it official for good reason. Okay? Mixing the faith of God with politics is not a good idea. Okay? Using the principles of God to run your nation is the best idea for any nation on the face of the earth or in the universe at all. And that is what our founding fathers had in mind. Not all of them, by any means. And here's Barry. And they messed up the Kirk script and really exposed themselves bad actors. Without a doubt. Without a doubt, Barry. And here's the thing. Who the hell are the script writers for the Kirk script? That woman? That Erica Kirk woman? Who is she? We know she has ties to the three letters. She was giving briefings to them under the auspices of their moniker. We know this, okay? She does these gymnastics. She does these things. She's very familiar with weapons, various weapon systems. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Monarch Mind Control, a.k.a. MK Ultra, okay? You could see that a mile away, or crocodile tears, the whole thing. Ladies and gentlemen, lest you forget, the memorial service or whatever, one of them at least, had a mock-up of the tent that Kirk was in when he got shot. And they offered selfies of anybody who wanted to go in that fake tent. Okay? Morbid. Macabre, if you will. Paul, how you doing, buddy? Paul says founding fathers were also Freemasons, but that's another rabbit hole, my friend. Absolutely. Absolutely, Paul. Thank you for pointing that out. How do we know this? Take a visual map view. I don't know how high you want to go of the formation of Washington, D.C. Look at it, and you will see Masonic symbology everywhere there. Look at our bills, not ours, the Federal Reserve. We want to separate us as Americans, free people and free thinkers, from the Federal Reserve. But if you look closely at the $1 bill, up in, I think it's the right corner, you're going to see an owl. What does that owl mean? The all-seeing, this and that. And then you have, of course, the pyramid of the all-seeing eye. Okay? These things, ladies and gentlemen, are symbols not of us, not of America. They're symbols made by people who call other things God than what we call God. With a little g, they call it, right? With a little g, and it begins with an S, Satan, right? Yeah. Don't believe me if you don't want to. Thank you, Paul, for that. Because that is, how is it that a human house could be built on such a strong foundation? We had to have God involved. But yes, we are humans and therefore fallible, Paul. Thank you for pointing that out. Omar says, on another note, was the syringe incident on Omar, was it set up or fake? Oh, thank you, Omar. That was so fake. That was so fake. Thank you for reminding me of that. You know what? I should have sent you that, Joe. I should have sent you that Elon Omar footage. I'm sure you've all seen it, right? And if you haven't, you feel free to go up and get it on YouTube and watch it. Okay, there are two main angles that I've seen. If there's another one, I haven't seen it, but I see the one where it shows little Elon Omar, right? It shows her behind this. They probably had to chop down that podium for her to see it, or they got a little step stool up there, right? So she's on this podium, spouting off her communistic refuse from her face, right? And she gives this signal. I don't know if you guys noted this, but she gives a little signal, a little nod to a guy, a sloppy, foolish man in the crowd. And then seconds later, this guy stands up and squirts something, uses a syringe to squirt something on that poor woman, right? That poor woman, Elon Omar. Okay, so she gets squirted with something that they described as stinky. Doesn't smell good. Whatever. But you see her walk out towards the aggressor, towards the criminal, towards the threat, okay? And then she's out of frame in the one angle that shows her back. If you see it from the other angle, where you can see the guy get up and you see the guy do that, you could see that little Elon Little Ilhan Omar, okay? She's, ladies and gentlemen, she is just a tad, only a small bit bigger than the Geico Gecko. I swear. She's like incrementally larger, just a small, one little, as you're on the wall and oh, Dad, look how tall I am. A little bit, one marker above that Geico Gecko. And she walks towards that guy, and you can see her in the other angle. She lifts up, it's probably about this high, probably about 3 or 4 feet in the air, her little fist. But she lifts it up like she's going to hit that huge fat dude that weighs 300 pounds. She was going to smack him right in the jimmy, because that's about the height she was, right? Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't get much faker than that, okay? And then you got her crazy partner there, what's her name, AOC. It all happened because of Trump. He had to bring violence towards her, and these threats are real. No, that's not her real voice. This is AI, okay? This is Otter AI right here, okay? That is AOC, ladies and gentlemen. My impression of AOC, the bartender herself. I would never want to drink from her. Could you imagine how bad that would be? Holy moly. Anyway, so yes, Omar, that was fake. So first of all, they're going to search you, and they probably would have found the syringe if it wasn't, staged and all that. So she should get the Jussie Smollett, what was it, a noose, right, on the garage door. That should be the award. And the Jussie Smollett, this is MAGA country, South Chicago. This is MAGA country. Come on, Jussie, Elon. We're not buying this crap. That was stupid fake. That was amazingly fake. That little creature gonna go up against the 300-pound man. Come on. If it was real, first of all, they would have shut everything down, right? They would have shut it down. They would have, taken her to a restroom or backstage or whatever it is, taken that sweater off that she had on. They would have made sure that she was deconned and wash her up and all that. And they would have definitely stopped everything. But no, she wanted to look brave. She wanted to look tough. So she carried on with the fakery. Thank you. Thank you, Omar, for bringing that up. It's fakery. Just as fake as this color revolution, just as fake as these protests, ladies and gentlemen. They're fake. What do I mean by fake? They're not organic. Do people really get hurt? Yes. Have people been killed? I believe so. Some people go for the whole thing that it's all fake. I don't. Okay? I believe that people have been hurt and killed. Why? Because the people that run this, the people on top of this, okay, the people behind all this want that. I want no violence. I want no harm to Americans. I want none of that. I want peace, just like our leader, Donald Trump, wants peace, and he's making it all over the world. However, the people that are creating this or writing this color revolution, this insurrection against the United States of America are desperate because their crime syndicate is being exposed. Ladies and gentlemen, it's up to 30, maybe 40 billion so far in Minnesota alone. Imagine the crime. Imagine all the leering centers. Leering centers, it was spelled. So they can't even spell learning. You've seen this, I'm sure. So all of these things, all of these places are engaged in insurrection. It is a color revolution, I submit to you, that we will not abide by. Here's the good news. Here's the good news. We Americans are focused on peace. We true Americans are focused on the ability for us to help our families, raise our families, live for the good things in life, worship our God, first of all, become part of his kingdom, and tell others about the good news, right? Most Americans want this. These people might be American in name, and I'm talking about those three-letter rogue agencies. They call themselves Americans. Peter Strzok. Yeah, sure. Was it Peter Strzok? Yeah, Peter Strzok and Lisa, whatever her name was. Throw it up there if you guys remember her name. Anyway, those types of people, criminally traitorous. You know the one who didn't, though, create treason and cannot be charged with treason is Barack Hussein Obama. Good and pretty. Yeah, they were the two. Pretty good, right? Yeah, I believe that these things happened. I believe they really happened. And because of these color revolutionaries that are domestic enemies, right? So, yeah, it's really, really bad, but it's being dealt with. And here's the thing, guys, this is the thing that I'm hung up on. I at first was a proponent of the Insurrection Act because they would clean up and it wouldn't require any patriots, citizen patriots in the streets, which is what they want. They want civil war. But I'm coming around, and there are some other commentators. There's Dave from X22 Report who articulates this very well. Donald Trump is not going to invoke the Insurrection Act just yet. Why? Because we're coming into the midterms, important time, and it will just be poor optics, right, to have, regular soldiers, and they will come in at some point. I believe so. Coming in onto the scene to quell this unrest. But not yet. Not yet. There will be other stratagems. There will be other manners and plans and things that are going to be employed that will go along to stop these insurrectionists, because we got a long way to go, ladies and gentlemen. This is just Minnesota, and this is just January. Imagine all the way up to November. They're going to make it so that in all towns in those blue cities and those blue states, they're able to vote. That is their goal. They want to make it so honest Americans, real Americans, can't vote. That's what they want to do. That's their goal. Okay? So, Lisa Page, thank you, Barry. Thank you. Lisa Page, Strzok, the lovers, right? I'm going to go back real quick to the guy who can't be charged with treason and why. Barack Hussein Obama, the puppet, okay? The mind-controlled fool. Evil son of a gun, and his husband. Only one of them can be charged with treason. Barack Hussein Obama is not a U.S. citizen. I submit that to you. You don't have to believe what I say, okay? He, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't have a real birth certificate. Ask Loretta Fuddy. Oh, you can't. They killed her. They whacked her. Plane crash. Remember? Yeah, Loretta Fuddy took over for the person who was in the Vital Records Department of Hawaii for like 20 or 30 years. Loretta Fuddy goes in, provides that fake birth certificate, and dies. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to believe me, but please look it up. So, Barry says, hopefully cooler heads shall prevail. I agree, my friend. I agree wholeheartedly. But here's my assessment. These cooler heads will not only be cooler, but they will be out for justice. And I'm not talking about vengeance. That's for God. Vengeance is mine, says God. We are out for justice because we are the United States of America. Now, when Donald Trump is dealing with these criminals, when he's dealing with Walz, when he's dealing with Newscomb, when he's dealing with this Fry guy there in Minneapolis, when he's dealing with these criminals, okay, he gives them the out. He always gives them the chance to take the high road, which is what this last negotiation was about when they met face-to-face, supposedly. That if Minnesota plays along like every other state, legally, with the law, then the Trump administration will scale back the ICE footprint in Minnesota. They don't need all those agents if they're not defending federal buildings and federal agents. You don't need that big of a footprint, okay? Because real Minnesotans are not out there. And if they are, they're really dumb Minnesotans. They really are. And there's just some dumb Buffalonians, too. I want to tell you that right now. My ex-hometown, Buffalo. There was a guy who came on who started talking about the veterans and the Americans that for 250 years were in the trenches fighting for America, okay? And it was his job. And I thought he was a patriot at first. That it was his job to stand up for the American way. And then he comes out and defends illegal aliens. Ladies and gentlemen, he's talking about freedoms lost. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to see freedom? Go along with this color revolution. You'll see it real quick. You'll see it real quick. And you know what? These illegal aliens are darlings to the Marxist left right now. They're darlings. Why? Because as sane people move out of New York, as sane people move out of Illinois, out of California, they're replacing them with these people who don't know the American system and don't really care because they don't want to be Americans. They want to be criminals, but they don't want to be Americans. Right? How do I say this? Well, you see the Honduran flag, you see the Mexican flag, you see all these different flags, which is great. Freedom, right? But if you love that place, go back. Go back. You can. Go back. See how nice it is there for you. What are you doing here? If it's so terrible here, why are you here? Right? We got to ask these questions. So the reason why, again, Barack Hussein Obama, when he is sacked up, or I'm sure he already was, I don't want to get into that rabbit hole, as you said, Paul. But he will not be charged with treason. He hopefully will face justice, but not as a traitor because he's not an American. Okay? His history is well known for those of us who have eyes to see and ears to hear. If you don't, well, you're not going to know. But back to what I really wanted to talk about today. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be free. We are free to a degree now, much greater than many nations. But there is always going to be a necessity of trust. We either trust people or we trust God. I trust God. You don't have to. I trust in God and his son, Jesus Christ. Where I'm going with this is in my studies, in my observations, have come to the conclusion that Donald Trump, he's not a pure man, a holy man by any stretch. Okay. But he is doing what I believe to be God's work. What do I mean by that? I mean that this country that has been such a blessing to the whole world, imagine how many people have been helped via the Christians in America. Imagine how many people have been helped, how many people have been brought along the way to heaven by Christians here in America, from America. Just, I can't even imagine that. Be they missionaries, be they donors to international ministries, whatever. Okay. Prayer. Can't ever forget prayer. Okay. That's where our warfare happens. We are peaceful in this matrix. Okay. We are peaceful here. But in the heavenly realms, we have power beyond our understanding to pray to the King of the universe that he might move stuff around for his kingdom. Let us not forget that. Okay. So Barry says, it's our money that's getting funneled to Somalia through Minnesota. Of course. Imagine how many Somalians in Somalia are winning as we lose. Right? This is obvious. Now, we know that they have those people. I saw one was a 3-story house, something like that in Minnesota, and, just pushing the people like, hey, do you have a daycare here? No, go away. Ladies and gentlemen, they're making a ton. 2.5 million, I think it was. These people were making, illegal alien Somalians that Biden, let in for this very purpose, making $2.5 million a year for leering centers. Okay. You got to know that the take is much larger than 2.5 million. Of that take, amen, Barry, Christ is king. And as Christ goes, I hope America goes. But we can only do that if we're on his side, right? So these people were just, the bottom feeders, these Somalians on the ground. Imagine how much the NGOs took back. Imagine how much the Somalian government gets cut. Imagine how much Walsh gets, Fry gets, all these, puppets, installed leaders got. Just imagine. And that's why they're fighting so hard, ladies and gents. That's why they're fighting so hard. Look at the money Elon has made. Thank you. Can you say fake winery? So she's got this winery and she's worth, I don't know, 10 million. Was it $10 million or it's worth $25 million, something like that? Problem with her winery is there's no wine. Another problem is there's no winery. Yeah. So what is she making money from? What is little Elon Gecko Omar making money on? How is she making that money? Sue, good to see you. Joey, good to see you guys. Say hi to Uncle Ray, Aunt Brenda. Sue, say hi to Dad and Joe and Jim. Have a great day, everybody. We're almost out. We're almost ready to sign out. But I've had a little bit of a roll here, and I believe I'm a bit inspired. So I want to tell you that I will never quit on you. I will never quit on America. Okay? I'm never going to obviously quit on my family, but I will never quit the kingdom of God. One of the reasons why they killed Jesus Christ is because he came and he said, I am a king, and what you say is true. They didn't want that. They didn't want that. Why? Because the ruler of this system, not the ruler of the earth, but the ruler of the worldly system is named Satan. That's his name. That's what it's called. Bible and so forth. That ruler will not allow, if he can help it, and he can't. He can't. But if he can help it, he won't allow any other rulers. Right? So if a ruler pops up that doesn't go by his, and she is illegal, well, you better believe it. Doesn't matter. You can marry your brother. Well, not you, Barry. But Elon can marry your brother. It doesn't make her legal, right? Doesn't make him legal either. So the thing that we have to remember is our enemy is not completely in this world. The root of our enemy is in the spiritual world. However, we got a very, very great advantage. It means literally the world. We know the king. We know the King of Kings. Okay? And that's what I mean when I say that our founding fathers built the foundation of this nation, its system of governance, the checks and the balances and all that good stuff based on biblical foundations. Did they use Black's law? Yeah. Did they use common law? Yeah. But an argument could be made that they were also biblically based. However, we as Americans, if we truly want to succeed, have to get on that bandwagon. Sue says, Tu padre dice hola. Hola, padre. My sister's taking Spanish, so this is awesome. Well done, Sue. Well done. Dan, glad to see you, Dan. Coming in a little late. Maybe you'll check the rest of it out, but we're talking about Ilhan Omar and color revolutions. And we're wrapping it up pretty soon, but I want to wrap it up on a great note. And the only thing I know that is truly great on this earth is God's kingdom. Okay? We humans, not so great. Okay? Make America great? Yeah, we can do it. We will do it. Lord willing, we will do it. God willing, we will do it. Make America great again. But when we read the true history of the world, not the stuff that is made by, Zbigniew Brzezinski in textbooks, but the true history, the biblical history of this world, we know that if we are on God's side, in the end, we will win. If we are on his side, we win. If we are not, we might as well be out in the streets of Minnesota throwing frozen water bottles at people and doing that kind of stuff, committing that kind of jackassery. Okay? But we're not. Why? Because we're on God's side. We don't need to do that. Okay? We don't need to. The rabble that is out in the streets, the paid rabble rousers out in the streets of Minneapolis are going to fail. Hopefully they freeze first, not literally die. Nah, don't take that out of context. Hopefully they get cold. But they will fail. Okay? We as Americans gave a mandate to a man. He's not a God, not even with a little g. He's a man. Fallible. Completely human. But for now, for this time and in this place, he is the man that I believe God chose to lead us to freedom. Because somewhere along the way, this American life, this American dream was hijacked. Okay? And we no longer seek excellence. Okay? We seek this evil thing called equity. Why do I call it evil? Because we are not equal. We were created equal. I'll give you that. But we are not equal. Meaning, there are people out there, you have better math skills than me. I can't do math. Just don't do it much. You may be better at a certain thing. More languages, more skills, more knowledge than me. We're not equal. Okay? But we have equal footing in the eyes of God. That's all we need. That's all we need. And in America, we all have equal opportunities. Okay? That's what makes woke evil. What happened in Venezuela? Today's riots are done on purpose. Yes, they are. Venezuela, I'll tell you what happened in Venezuela. Maduro is going to sing. He's going to sing about how Dominion voting and Smartmatic started in Venezuela. They corrupted the elections in Venezuela before they corrupted the elections in America. And it's all coming out, baby. All coming out. That is for a future Bitcoin Otter show. I'm going to sign off now, guys. About 5 minutes after 7 here, Central Time, McAllen, Texas. But I want to let you know that I'm never, ever going to give up on America. As we go, so America goes. Let's not let us give up hope, and let us have our hope and our treasure not here on earth, but in heaven, where thieves cannot break in and rust will not corrode our treasure. Thank you for watching. God bless you. God bless your families, and God bless America. Amen and amen. Adios.
This is the Bitcoin Otter Radio Show
Oh my God, I love you so much.
on